Hi, this is Joe at Joe's Test Studio.
We're going to put in a clump of trees first. It's a huge mass of trees way back in the distant background. And then we will come in toward the foreground with some closer trees. But in the background back here, we're going to keep it kind of cool, maybe a mixture of blues and a little bit of warm stuff in it. But this is all trees back here. And if you would imagine, it's individual trees, but we don't want to paint every individual tree. What we want to do is come in here with some color, and I generally activate a lot of color and then just begin to put it on the painting, and we'll be ready to go that way. So I started my brushes loaded with 2 or 3 different colors, and I'll simply come back in here and let those colors mix on the paper. Can you see that mixing there? I hope you can. Small evergreen tree back there. I'm going to add a little more blue to it so that it's not quite so warm and got a little muddy because I mixed it too much on my palette. See, I need to just pick up that color and not stir it on the, there we go. Don't stir on the palette so much. And then it becomes a much cleaner, nicer color to put down. And all those trees will just kind of blend together back there in that background. This is just clean water that I'm softening this with at the bottom down there, bringing it right over the trees that are in the foreground. And I keep those brush strokes coming this way because that's the way trees grow, rather than taking it this way and every which way. And I bring it all the way down, a little softer color. So there's a variety of color in there, from kind of a little purple and yellow and a little green and a little blue here. We're going to add a little more blue right in there, but I think that'll work just fine. So there's that whole mass of trees put in at one time, and that makes it much simpler, cleaner, and when you see the final painting, I think you'll agree, it's the best way to do a whole clump of trees. Okay, we've put in the big group of trees in the background. Now we're going to put some of the trees in the foreground. And we're going to use a little different color and maybe make them a little lighter or a little darker so they are different than the ones in the background. And I've activated some color, some gamboge, some old sienna, which really is quinacridone burnt orange, a gorgeous color, one of my favorite siennas. I like it better than I do burnt sienna now. It's called old sienna. There's one called Lucky Penny that's also really pretty. But we're going to be working right in here in these little trees and see what happens here. Pick up a little bit of the golden colors, and this is that sienna, and isn't that pretty? We'll change it just a little. We'll add a little blue in there just to make it a little grayer. We'll come right on. This is negative painting now because I'm going to be painting around this roof of this house. Simply cutting that in with this big old brush. And we'll come right over here with these. Let's put a little bit of pure old sienna in there. Isn't that pretty? We'll drop a little bit of it right in here so that we now have a variety of color in there. A little blue to gray, a little bit of it. We'll do the same thing down here. We're going to paint around this little building in the top of the roof. And again, that's the negative painting right there. And we're going to do some different negative painting in a few minutes, but for right now, it's just so much fun to watch these. Isn't that pretty? Well, I don't know that it's pretty, but isn't it fun? I'll clean my brush now and soften this edge with just clean water right here. See, that's just clean water. And when it dries, you won't see anything in that right there. While we're in that same color, we'll come across here and put some of that in the background in this large area back here. This will be part of the trees in the middle ground, and we'll make a little variety of color in there. Go all the way from that really warm color to a little cooler color, and we'll go back to the warm color. And so it's variety that gives us this exciting feeling back in there. And you can go up above with just a little darker color. We'll cut right in above that mountain back there and put an evergreen tree that's way back there, because we have lots of those trees here in our area. And I really enjoy, I get a kick out of painting them. Maybe I put too many in, I don't know. But anyhow, We'll put those two in right here, and we'll fill in the rest of these. And I think once we, there's a tree. We're going to do negative painting around that tree so that we have a tree trunk showing there. Look at that right there. One right here. Negative around the house. Another tree trunk coming up, maybe a branch coming across, maybe one that way. And that's that tree. We don't want to do that, so I'm going to clean that up right there with just water. Just soften that area, and that'll do it. So we have now all this negative painting in here. I'll soften that little area right there so that it don't end up with a hard edge. Negative painting around all the little buildings and areas. And we're beginning to come here. The painting's coming right along. Now then, that'll do us. Then the next time we'll come back and add these darker trees and maybe some more negative painting around these trees. It will be about there. We're going to finish the trees up now by putting in the evergreen trees, the dark evergreen trees right in here. Maybe a couple right down in here that are kind of dark too. And add a little detail to this section of trees right in here so it'll keep it from dividing these areas right here. But we'll start with the evergreen trees over here. And I've mixed up some, some old sienna, some sap green, and ultramarine. And I just go in and pick up each one of them separately. Let them mix kind of together on the paper rather than, and then come in and I'll change the color now. Make it a little darker. Wow, that got almost black, didn't it? Let's add a little black up into that right there. It'll show it up really nice and see what we get in there. I'll add a little of the green and old sienna again, change the color down in there so that it would get a variety. Maybe drop a little of the brown in up there. Let it mix itself down there. And we'll come right on down. We have the tree trunk down in there. And we have some more down here. A little darker right there. And the first thing you know, we have this tree right there that's hopefully going to be a really neat little tree. Happy little tree, as Bob Ross would have said. We have another one right here. So we'll go ahead and put it in at this time. And we'll add a little darker for that because it's getting a little light. So we'll add just a little darker color in it, let it run into itself there. See what happens. And we'll overlap that tree right there. And it comes all the way down behind this house. So that's the negative area. And this is just completing that little evergreen tree right there. Turn some of that up that way. And then when we come back into this area with not quite that dark, but almost, with our brush, we can make those trees kind of pop out right in there. And here's a tree that's way back there. I'm going to turn it cooler. Another little evergreen tree that's back in the background, and it's going to be a cooler tree. But this end is getting kind of dark on me, so I'll add a little water to it and soften it right in there. And that becomes the forest edge right there. We'll start like that. And we'll add some more of this dark right in there. And you can see now the negative trees right here, how much we have in there. Let's add a little bit of detail into the trees. We have a limb going across there and maybe a limb coming down right there. And we'll see how we like it. If we like it, great. If we don't, we can always come back and change it. So now we have the negative trees, the negative house, negative little building, these trees, and we'll add just a little detail, I told you, to these right back here. And I do that with a rigger. I've loaded the rigger up with rich paint, and I hold it up here on the tip, and I hold this hand like that, and I'll just come up here and make that little tree just like that. Isn't that fun? And it gives me more of an idea of the tree in here. And part of this tree will be negative, and part of it will be positive in there. So, and that's the way we do that little tree thing right there. Isn't that fun? Making these trees is good fun and so easy.